if you're thinking about moving to Florida, our #1 tip is to just do it.
And in this video, we're going to tell you all the reasons why and what it would look like for you to make that move, and even what it would look like if it doesn't work out. And we're getting started right now.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the Sarasota, Venice, Englewood, Northport areas, make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
That phone number is 941-221-1897. You can call or text at any time. We hear from people all the time. We absolutely love it. And we'll always have your best interest and happiness in mind when buying or selling a home in the area.
We're basing this tip on our first-hand experience of moving from Wisconsin to Florida.
Yeah, it was a pretty big decision. As you can imagine, we kind of just took the leap shortly after getting married. And there was a lot of questions in our mind, a lot of the worries that maybe you have or things that you're not sure about. You know, what do we do with this? How do we make the move? All that stuff. But you know what? I think a lot of it kind of works itself out when you just decide, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's give it a try. And we'll figure it out along the way. And that's kind of part of what made it fun, I think.
Yes, and for us too, it was like if it doesn't work out, we can always move back home.
Yeah. So I think a couple things to consider if you're looking at making the move. There's a couple ways you can do it. I mean, you could just rent a place and maybe get a short-term lease to give it a try. Maybe get a month or 2-month Airbnb to test the waters a little more. But we just went all in. We went and bought a condo because we figured that was a little bit lower barrier of entry, lower price point. So it was a little bit less of a commitment to decide to jump into that.
And yeah, and our thoughts were, well, if we don't want to live here and we want to move back home, we can always just rent out the place. And this is something that will gain equity instead of using that money towards a rent. Now we actually had something to show for the money we were paying every month.
Yeah, and with it, there was a lot of things that worried us. We were worried about the move. We were worried about living in a condo because that was different for us. We were worried about with our dog and HOA restrictions and just how she was going to handle the drive down there. Like all these different little things. In fact, we're going to have a whole bunch of stuff. We have a playlist in the description down below. It's a Moving to Florida playlist. A lot of our story and just other factors that you might want to consider are going to be in videos covered in that playlist. But here's some more reasons why we think you should just give it a try.
It's a really nice experience to not the actual move because there is a lot of stress that goes into that.
And excitement.
And it's stress and excitement, yes. But actually living in Florida is just, at least for us coming from Wisconsin, it's just so much different. The culture here is very, very different. I love the winters here. You love summers.
I like both.
I don't really like summers here, but it's something that you kind of have to pick your poison. Would you rather have a negative 20, 30 degree in Wisconsin, or would you rather have a 100-day degree in Florida? And with that too, you get to experience, like for us, the town where we live, so it's like we're always on vacation. When we lived in Orlando, same thing. It's very touristy there, so it was like we were on vacation. So up to this date, it still feels like we're on vacation and we just live here now.
Yeah, and I remember when we first moved to the Orlando area, Altamont Springs, and we were in the condo about 3 or 4 days, and we didn't have the office set up yet, so I had a laptop set up in the kitchen table, and we had the lanai screen door open. And I just remember it was like 84, late November, fresh air coming in. I'm just like, look at Heydy, I'm like, this is awesome. Just that idea alone, late November, that beautiful weather. And then, yeah, all the other little things. It was just so new, exciting. And I mean, it still is. It's still like we never take it for granted. But those first couple years, I think were just, everything almost seemed surreal. Like going to the beach for the first time to see the ocean, whether the Gulf side or the Atlantic side, like every time it was just like, I can't believe we could just make a day trip and go do this, or go to Universal Studios, which we're not big into the theme parks, but Universal Studios is a little more adult focused, I'd say. And just going there is like, wow, this is just like at our fingertips. It was so cool.
Yes, and also I love the fact that we are able to take short road trips from our hometown here in Venice. We can go to Miami if we want to for a day or two. Usually 2 days, just because it's a 3.5-hour drive, so it's better if you do 2 days or maybe a little bit more. We've been to the Keys, we've been to Orlando multiple times. We keep going back to Orlando.
We still miss it a little bit.
Yeah, it's the big city of it, the big city feel of it, I think is what we miss. We've been to Florida's East Coast, so just being able to travel a lot within Florida and experiencing different things. So all of that just adds to the experience of living in a state where you can do a lot of traveling in a short amount of time.
And one other thing I want to say that I really liked and still do like about moving to Florida, especially coming from like the Midwest or just a lot of areas that are more in the center of the United States, there's not as much options, especially in small towns, for food. There's it always comes down to food
comes
with
down
me.
to food.
But I'm just saying, like, there's a lot more like tropical and Caribbean food. You've got Cuban food. You've got more Indian food options, Thai. I like experiencing different cultures and different cuisines. So it's really nice to have that at your fingertips in a lot of the different areas of Florida. Not everywhere necessarily, but a lot of the areas.
And not that we didn't have those types of cuisines, we did, but in our hometown, we had to take probably a 20-30 minute drive to the nearest city that was a little more diverse.
Yeah, urban. So I think a couple things to consider is, first of all, the reason we shared that story is because maybe that gives you some ideas of maybe you could make the move, and maybe you decide it's not for you and you buy a little condo. Well, then you could rent it out. You could maybe Airbnb it out potentially, depending on the HOA restrictions. And then you could maybe have a winter getaway place. So it's something you can do, and you can kind of commit to without feeling like you have to live there forever. You could just give it a try, and you can always change your mind. I think it's important to note that more people stay than leave in Florida. Now, there's going to be certain things that might happen that make you want to leave, whether it's the bugs, the hurricanes, the alligators, the humidity and heat in the summer, all the things I'm sure you heard about. Pinned to the top comment, we'll have 10 things that people hate about Florida, so you'll want to make sure you know what those things are before making a move.
And if you move here and you don't like it and you want to move back home, at least you gave it a shot, you gave it a try. A lot of people dream of moving to Florida and they just never pull the trigger. So at least you know that you dreamed of moving to Florida, you did not like living in Florida, so you moved back home. And now you'll have, if you do purchase a condo, you'll have an investment property here or a vacation home.
Yeah, and even if you decide, okay, you know what, I'm just going to sell the condo, the home, whatever it is that you buy, okay, whatever, you go back to your home. And like she said, bare minimum, you'll know. It's like one of those things like, do you really want to get to the end of your life and be like, you know, that's something I always wanted to try and I never did? Like, why not at least take the leap, give it a shot, see what you think, and you'll know. And having that certainty, if you decide to move back, will be like, you know what, I'm glad I at least tried that. And bare minimum, it's going to be a memory that you'll never forget. I lived in Arizona for a little while. I went to a tech school out there, and I still have very fond memories. I want to go visit there again once in a while just to go back there, but it's a part of my life I'm never going to forget. So I think bare minimum, give it a shot and see what it's all about.
And if you are able to even just do the snowbird thing, even doing that would be, that would be great. Maybe try to rent out your space in the summer. Summers are not as popular here unless you're like in the Orlando area where families travel when kids are off from school, but give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can always move back.
If you've been thinking about moving to Florida, leave a comment. Let us know how long you've been thinking about, and if there's a certain area you have in mind. Also, pinned to the comments, we're going to have 10 of what we think are the best cities to live in Florida. Make sure you check out that video. That'll give you an idea of some of the options and kind of where they're located across the state. But if you are looking to move to the Venice, Inglewood, Sarasota, Northport areas,
make sure to call, text, or email us. I am a local realtor here. My information will be in the description box below.
That phone number is 941-221-1897. You can call or text at any time. We hear from people daily. We love it. And we're always going to have your best interest in mind when moving to the area. If you found the video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on all notifications, and live breezy.